So the first topic I'm going to talk about is that Jason Momoa has been officially cast as Lobo for the Supergirl movie. Now, this isn't surprising. Everybody saw this coming. He's talked about how much he loved the character. He put a post hinting that he was going to play Lobo. He had a video where it showed that he's talked to James Gunn about playing a different DC character. And Lobo to me is just like the perfect casting for Jason Momoa. Like I loved him as Aquaman, but if he's gonna join a new DC universe in a different role, like Lobo would be the character in the DC comics. I would go like, yeah, that's just perfect casting. Like I can totally see the character Lobo and Jason Momoa. So, not surprising news, but great news in the fact that I think he's a perfect casting for Lobo, and I'm excited to see how the character plays in the Supergirl movie. Like my guess, this is a guess, is that maybe he's like gonna be the main bad guy or like one of the bad guys, where he's maybe sent to go after Supergirl because he is a space bounty hunter in the comics. But I think this is just perfect casting, and I can't wait to see him as a character. Next topic is Batman. The Batman 2 has been delayed to 2027 of October. Now, I am a little worried here because this this is like a 5 year gap between these two movies. And James Gunn did put out two comments. But that is a pretty long time in between movies. And I'm gonna like read his first comment, which I understand this. Sure, yes, it is true. The only reason for the delay is that isn't a full script. Those of you who follow me here probably know that way. Matt is committed to making the best film he possibly can. No one can accurately guess exactly how long a script will take to write. Once here is a finished script. Once there's a finished script, there's around 2 years for pre-production and shooting. So like I get that. Like that's totally understandable that James Gunn has made clear that, unless we have a full script, a script I'm happy with, then we're not gonna like officially go forward on a movie. And I do like that. The second part of his comment, I think he gets in a little trouble, in my opinion, where it's like I think sometimes James Gunn, and look, I love the fact James Gunn goes on and like debunks all these rumors and like goes on social media to do that. But I also think the negative side of that is that sometimes I think he doesn't need to comment on everything when it comes to news and all that. I think sometimes maybe he just needs to like there's a positive and negative side, in my opinion, to social media where sometimes if you like. I think James Gunn just doesn't need. He comments too much on stuff, and I think he sometimes needs to like certain things just be like it's. I think he just sort of left it off in his first comment, but his second comment was. I think the problem with the second comment is that he gives examples of long gaps between sequels. Like he says, to be fair, a 5 year gap or more is fairly common in sequels. I mean, I wouldn't call it common for like usually for big budget movies with sequels. They don't tend to take this long most of the time. There's been examples, but it's not. I wouldn't call it common. 7 years between Aliens, 14 years between Incredibles, 7 years between the first two Terminators, 13 years between Avatars, 36 years between Top Gun, and of course 6 years between Guardians from Volume 2 and 3. Like for Alien, like some of these weren't meant to be sequels, though. That's the thing. Like Matt Reeves has said he had a plan of to do a trilogy, and I feel like if he had it planned out, it's gonna be really taking this long to do a sequel. Because look, Alien wasn't meant to be a franchise. That was meant to be a one-off. Terminator isn't really a good example either because that wasn't really meant to be a franchise either. Like some of these are James Cameron movies, which he does take long on his movies. But some of these weren't meant to be sequels. Like yeah, Avatar was meant to be meant to be more than one movie. Top Gun wasn't meant to be a sequel. Like Top Gun wasn't going to have a sequel. The original was a one off, and then they, using the Top Gun Maverick, which is a great movie. I love both Top Gun movies. That I don't really think some of these are the best examples because like movies like the original Top Gun, the original Terminator, the original Alien, those movies weren't meant to have sequels when they were made back then. It wasn't like back then the studio was like, okay, we're gonna announce like we're gonna do a trilogy or something like that. So I don't think those are really the best examples to use. Incredibles, I would say is a, I would say that's the best example because yeah, with the Incredibles that is like, you know, with the Incredibles you can see where they would go with a sequel. The other ones weren't really designed to have sequels. And look, obviously they turned out to be great. Like the wait was worth it. You know, Aliens was fantastic. Terminator 2 is fantastic. Top Gun Maverick is fantastic. Incredibles 2 I enjoyed, but not as good as the first one. And then the last example he uses Guardians Volume 2 and 3, which I don't think is really a good example either because 2 and 3, Guardians Volume 2 and 3, well, the only reason Guardians 3 had a long gap between 2 is because James Gunn was fired from Guardians 3. And then Disney rehired him back. It wasn't like Guardians 3 was meant to take that long to come out after Guardians 2. So it just, I think so many examples just really aren't the best examples, and I think James Gunn should have not really. I think he should have just. I think he was fine with his first comment of saying, "Yeah, that's fair. You need it." He's made it clear he's only going to put movies in production unless it's a full script that's ready to go that he's happy with. But I do think the second response is one of those examples where James Gunn, I think sometimes maybe he doesn't need to comment on every news. Like I can I like the fact he does that at times, but I do think he overdoes it at times. I'm like, okay, you don't need to comment on every news. But again, that's just my personal thoughts. But when it comes to if this makes me concerned for Batman too, you know, this does make me just again a little bit concerned for this longer wait. Now, I will also point out this: it says in this report that maybe the delay between Batman 1 and 2, Matt Reeves' Batman movies, could be because Matt Reeves. It doesn't the report doesn't go into details, but it's saying that Matt Reeves is dealing maybe with some personal issues, like something personal going on. I was like, I would totally understand that if he has some something personal going on in his life, where it has to do with family, friends, or a loved one or something, you know, I would totally understand that delay in the movie. I can't really comment on that since it doesn't, I can't really say whether that's the reason because I'm just going based on what I've read online, what I've heard, and if there is personal reasons for why Matt Reeves is taking this long and something that's going on in his own personal life, I totally get that. So I can't really comment too much on that part of the report, whether that's the reason there's a delay. And I think the other thing is that you have some crosswire there with Matt Reeves saying that he was nearly done the script and they were going to start shooting, I think, next year. So, I do think there's a little bit of a crossfire going on, maybe. And then we're going to talk about another Batman news after this. But I know you also had the reports where I don't believe these reports that James Gunn, Robert Pattinson wants Matt Reeves' Batman to be part of his DC universe, and I just don't believe those reports. I think those are fake, personally, because James Gunn's made it clear he still wants to do Elseworld movies. So I don't really believe in reports that, because fans gonna have their theories right now, and that's the one I'm just like, I just don't really believe it or buy it based on James Gunn saying that he wants to continue to do Elseworld movies too. And it just doesn't sound believable that he will want to force Matt Reeves' Batman universe into his new DC universe. So that's that's one report I just don't believe personally. But we'll see. I'm at the end of the day, if there has to be a long wait between Batman 1 and 2, and the movie turns out to be great, which I have no doubt because the first one was great, then I don't have a problem with that. I do, at the end of the day, I do care more about quality when it comes to, okay, if you have to take long, just say you have to take long then. Just say, okay, well, we're making sure to get the script to where we want it, and just say, if it is personal stuff that Matt Reeves is dealing with when it comes to his personal life, just say, hey, he's dealing with some personal issues right now, if that's true. But I think James Gunn, I don't think he needs to bring up the second examples with his comment, because I just think some of those weren't really good examples. And him trying to make it sound like it's common to have this long gap between big budget sequels, between movies, it's not really that common. So it's that's I think James Gunn's got a little bit in trouble with his second comment and just Matt Reeves saying what he said about starting to shoot next year and all this. There is some feel like there's some crossfire going on here. But that's my thoughts on the whole Batman 2 delay. I'm a little concerned, but at the same time, I trust Matt Reeves and I trust that he'll make a great Batman movie again. The next topic is so it looks like Charlie Charlie Cox, who plays Daredevil in the Daredevil show, sounds like from his training that he's going to be in Avengers Doomsday, which I hope this is true because I think he's a great Daredevil. I also would love to see a Daredevil movie. Like I'm excited for the Daredevil show, but I want to see a Daredevil movie again. But I think it's awesome if he's in Avengers Doomsday because there's reports going around. You're going to see a bunch of characters in that movie, and it'll be great to see the character on the big screen again. So I hope this is true. The next topic is so the first trailer came out for the new Karate Kid Lessons. Was I thought this was a great trailer. The action looks great. I think Ralph Macchio, I'm excited to see his character back in a Karate Kid movie. I'm excited for a new Karate Kid movie because I love the original Karate Kid movie. I enjoyed the second one, but there really hasn't been a great one since the first one, in my opinion. And overall, I thought the show did a great job of just getting me really curious about the story, giving me a tone. Like I love how it's kind of like has kind of a serious tone to it with some good action. I think bringing Jackie Chan back, I love that because even though I didn't like the Karate Kid movie with Jackie Chan and James Smith, Jackie Chan, in my opinion, was the best part of that movie. He is the one thing that I go like, yeah, if you're gonna take one thing from that movie and combine both worlds, because he did play a different character in that movie. It's not like he was playing. It wasn't a remake where he was playing Miss Margie. So I do think it makes sense you could combine the two worlds. At first, I was kind of like, when I heard it, I was like, I don't. That seems kind of weird to try to put those two worlds together. But then the more I think about it, more I'm like, you know what? It wasn't like that wasn't really a remake of the original. He wasn't playing Miss Margie. They were different characters, so I can see them combining both worlds. And I love that moment in the trailer where he goes to Ralph Macchio's character and he says, "This new kid meets me what you meant to Miss Margie." And I think that just bringing these two worlds together could be really exciting. So to me, I think this is a great first show for Karate Kid Lessons, and hopefully the first great Karate Kid movie since the original. The next thing is so there's been a Ghostbusters movie has been announced that's coming to Netflix, an animated Ghostbusters movie, which makes sense to me. Like I am excited for this, even though Netflix is has a spotty track record, but it also makes sense to me because look, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. If you enjoyed all of that movie, that's I love that. I wasn't a fan of that movie, especially as someone who loved Ghostbusters Afterlife. I felt like that movie was a gigantic disappointment, and that movie didn't really make all that much money. I believe the movie cost like 100, and it made like slightly over 200, something like that. So it wasn't exactly like it's not like the Ghostbusters movies ever really tend like they don't tend to make a lot of like they make decent money, but they don't tend to make a big amount of money. And I just don't think people. I feel like the excitement for Ghostbusters just isn't as high as it used to be. And I think this might be the best idea right now because, like, I do think if you do a live action Ghostbusters movie someday, I'll be honest, I think you just need to reboot the franchise. Because I just Frozen Empire, I just think a lot of people didn't like, and it just didn't do all that great critically and financially. And I think it makes sense to kind of maybe have Ghostbusters go to animated route for an animated movie. Like I wish it was an animated movie being released in theaters and not on a streaming service. But I'll say this: I have an interest in this. Netflix is spotty, but I think depending on what the story is, trusting them going with this animated movie, I do think it makes somewhat sense now. Like I would prefer to have a Ghostbusters movie, live action movie or animated movie in theaters than a streaming movie because I'm a big Ghostbusters fan. But I totally understand with how Ghostbusters Frozen Empire did, and just maybe feeling like people aren't too excited for Ghostbusters like they were back then. I can understand maybe having this a movie on a streaming service. Hopefully, it ends up being good. The next topic is so there's reports going on that Spider-Man 4 script is going to change this. That's reportedly being rewritten. And there's been a bunch of like new speculation about Spider-Man 4 when it comes to the script, what characters are going to be in it. Like I've seen some crazy reports about like Ghostbusters is going to be in Spider-Man 4 or crazy reports like that where you hear, oh, this character's going to be in it. And I know with that movie, like there was a report with Kevin Feige and the studio Sony where they were kind of arguing what type of movie they're going for. Where like Kevin Feige wanted more grounded, street level Spider-Man movie, and the studio wanted more of a multiverse movie to capitalize on No Way Home. And whether they've settled on that or not, it doesn't sound like it. So I'm not surprised if Kevin Feige and Sony were arguing over like whether to have it be a multiverse adventure or a street level adventure. I can see why the script is being rewritten and going through changes so much. I just hope it ends up being good because I love the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, and I can also understand coming off of No Way Home, that movie made like 1.9 at the box office, nearly 2 billion. So I can understand why Sony want to go like the big multiverse angle. I just hope the movie ends up being good. I mean, like Sony to me needs a win after like Matt Webb and Craven and the stupid thing that the CEO of Sony said about those movies. To me, they need to definitely focus on just making good quality movies. This does make me a little concerned that they're going through multiple rewrites with this movie, and it sounds like maybe Sony and Kevin Feige aren't agreeing on what this movie should be. But I just hope but like I said, I hope the movie ends up being good. I'm a little concerned, but Sony's definitely my faith in Sony is definitely not high right now. So I just hope they like figure out what this movie's gonna be and it ends up being good. The next topic is so there was an idea for a Captain America and Peggy Carter movie after Endgame, and that was apparently canceled. Now it does sound like maybe that there's almost a plot that's going to be played into Avengers Doomsday because I think actually played Peggy Carter. I believe she was confirmed to be coming back to play the character again in Avengers Doomsday. So I could see them maybe taking elements from this story. It just sounds like they never could sell on a story for this movie, and a movie about Captain America and Peggy Carter after Avengers Endgame. I don't know if I would be excited for it, but at the same time, I don't know what the story would exactly be because the way Endgame ends, he gets his happy ending cap, and I'm curious what the story would be. I remember back then there was like people saying, oh, they want to see a Captain America movie of him like returning all the stones, but that could have been interesting. I don't know if that would be the most compelling idea for a movie. But when it comes to, I think it's just interesting news the fact that they had an idea that they were going to do a Captain America and Peggy Carter movie of them together after Endgame. Whether it would have been interesting or not, who knows? But basically, they couldn't sell on the script when it comes to the story. The last topic I'm going to talk about is that the director of Batman Babe in the Bowl, Andy Muschietti, has said that it sounds like Batman Babe in the Bowl is not being like postponed, but being just delayed a little bit. He says he's working on I think he said it was like writing a science fiction movie that he might be doing a movie before that movie. So it sounds like it's going to take a little bit longer to do that movie. And this is the other Batman news. I meant to talk about that sooner. The second, this Batman news after the Bat Reeves of Batman 2 being delayed. But this is the other Batman news I wanted to talk about soon in the video, which was that, yeah, it sounds like Batman and Beta Bowl, we're going to have to wait on that too, which is kind of funny that on both Batman movies. Sounds like there's going to be a little bit of a wait on both those Batman movies. And look, when it comes to Batman and Beta Bowl, I am excited for that movie. And, I know there's been reports going around that people are thinking maybe it's taking so long because Eddie Muschietti is not going to end up directing it. And, this, I don't really believe those reports. especially when there's been nothing to confirm that. Now, I do think maybe I can understand maybe people being a little shaky with him directing it because not everybody loved the Flash movie. It didn't do well at the box office, and there was multiple reasons for that. But a lot of people didn't like the Flash movie. Like I had fun with the movie. I'm not as high on that movie as I was the first time I saw it. But I still enjoyed the Flash movie. Like it. Do I think he's the best choice to direct a Batman movie with Batman and Damian Wayne? After the Flash movie, do I think that was the right choice? Not completely, because I think maybe would have been better to go with a different director. But it sounds like he's still directing it, and that he basically just said, "Hey, so I'm doing something. We're probably gonna do a movie before that movie." But it does suck we have to wait. That both Batman movies sound like they're being like delayed, and they're gonna be a long wait for both movies. Hopefully, both Batman movies turn out to be great. Like I'm excited for both movies. I'm excited for Matt Reeves' Batman sequel, and I am excited for any Mercedes Batman movie with Batman and Robin. So we'll see when these two movies come out. So that's all the movie news today. Until next time, movie fans.